Hello, hello. Welcome to the Total Truth Show. My name is Aldwyn from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And my name is Ken Kleinberg, and I'm coming to you all the way from the USA, San Diego County, California, to be exact.
Hi, and I'm Elizabeth King, and I'm coming to you from Berlin, Germany.
And we are presenting a hot topic today, how to master presentations, straight after this short introduction.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Total Truth Show, hosted by myself, Ken Kleinberg from San Diego County, California.
And I'm Aldwyn, known as the Media Queen from the Gold Coast in Australia.
And our goal here on this show is to help you to break away from the mainstream media propaganda and lies, the disinformation and misinformation that's out there in the mainstream, and really help you to start questioning everything and start doing the research for yourself. We want to punch through all of that disinformation and misinformation. Our goal here is to raise global consciousness to quantum critical mass and then pave the way for a new awakened civilization. And we would love for you to come along for the ride. Don't take our word for it. The things that we share here on the show, that goes for our guests too. Start doing the research for yourself. Start going and asking the questions for yourself. Get out there and really find the real truth behind things. So with that, let's get started, you guys. Let's dive into today's episode. Once again, welcome.
Yes, welcome. The truth about how to master presentations. We have an absolute expert with us. Elizabeth, in fact, has 30 years opera experience, and she has some really cool visuals on her socials, I must say, from some of the shows she's done. And she's an absolute legend with this. She also is very passionate about healing as well through song and through presentations. And she combines energy healing techniques and voice activations to kickstart your own inner healing and propel you to levels of visibility that you need to become a master presenter, both on camera and on stage. And she leads the change also in performance preparation, blasting out negative emotional baggage, owning your confidence and radiance, and speaking with authenticity. And in fact, Elizabeth and I are going to be doing an event coming up soon called Present with Power, which we'll share with you. And huge kudos to her. She's coming to us nearly 3 a.m. for her here in Berlin. So thank you so much for making the time. It's nighttime for Ken, of course, in the US on a Friday night. And here it's about lunchtime, about 12 here on the Gold Coast in Australia. So welcome, Elizabeth.
On a Saturday, mind you. So she's
Yeah.
in the future.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
It's fantastic to have you here. So I'm very curious about your background as a performer and singer. How did it start for you?
Started when I was very small. I was always singing at home, recording myself. Of course, the performance were either the teddy bears or my family, my brother and sister were always invited to perform with me. And things just sort of happened. It seemed coincidental, but you know how that is. It's not really coincidence. I think that someone upstairs wanted me to go in a certain direction. So when a friend of mine was auditioning for a choir, she said, just come along with me because I'm nervous. And I ended up making it into this choir, actually. So that kind of kickstarted my path for singing, although I was doing it as a passion, you know, as a hobby at home. I didn't really think about it as something to do. So I did that in high school. And a big turning point for me was when my dad was very intelligent and, you know, worked as a lawyer's clerk and things like that. And, you know, I thought he would suggest for college that I should, you know, study law or something and prepare myself for that. But he said, well, if you love singing so much, why don't you just do that? And for me, that was a huge eye opener. And I thought, well, you can do this for a job. I, you know, didn't really think about it that way. Right. So I sang at my high school graduation and college graduation and graduated with a bachelor's of music. And then, I mean, I traveled actually while I was in college doing a competition And then I left college and I wasn't sure exactly what to do in the States if you really aren't on the right track. And I didn't really discover opera until 5 years later. So for 5 years, I didn't really do much. That's when I got into the healing work and massage therapy and, nutrition and mindset work and stuff like that. So that's been with me for a very, very long time. And I discovered singing opera 5 years later. I was singing at a Christmas party and there was an opera a voice teacher there. And she said, "You have a really nice voice. You should study." And I thought, So there was always something inside that was like leading me towards this path. So fast forward, years later, I had toured with a group, and I'd been to Japan and Spain and Italy. And one of the places I went was Germany. And at that time, I realized that there was a seed planted that you could live in Germany and sing professionally and make a living from it, which is kind of difficult in the States, right? Unless you're famous or you have the right connections. Most people, if you go to LA, for example, it's, I'm an actor, or I'm, doing a job, but I'm an actor really, or I'm a singer, right? And so I thought, this is amazing. Why don't I just give it a try? And it's now or never. If I don't try it now, then it will never happen. And so when that opportunity came for me to go to Austria, kind of check out how it would be to live in Germany and work here, etc., I just took the leap. I moved everything. I sold everything, sold my car, and came to Germany in 2011 and turned my hobby into my career. So I was still doing massage therapy on the side, but I switched from that being my major source of my major career to singing. So I was able to just live and work just singing in Germany at a more full-time level. I was doing it in the States before, but this time it was really on big stages, and, singing with an orchestra is just amazing. There's nothing like it. Yeah.
Awesome. What's the biggest crowd you've performed in front of?
For sure, 2000, maybe even more. Yeah.
Wow.
Easy.
Wow. Awesome.
Feels easy
And
now.
feels easy. Yeah. Amazing. And you also love dancing. You love Zouk. I don't even know what Zouk dancing is. Zouk, salsa, and belly dancing. What is Zouk?
Zouk is a Brazilian style. It comes out of the lambada tradition. So it's kind of special. Not everyone knows about Zouk, but it's Brazilian Zouk is what it's called. I love Zouk because you can, as long as you have the music, there's the right rhythm, you can dance to a lot of different types of music, although there is the traditional Zouk music. But yeah, I love partner dancing and just any kind of dancing. Moving the body is extremely important. I do somatic release stuff, with my work. It's really important to get the energy moving in the body. And just when you're dancing, you're not thinking about any kind of healing or whatever. You're just having fun. But that happens just automatically. You increase your vibration when you do that, really important.
Yeah, yeah. And I must say, it's great to see dancers and singers on stage. And when I think about masterful presentations, I think of people who can move you in some way. It's not just entertaining, but people also who can move you emotionally. And I saw a great presentation recently by a guy, and in that presentation, I was moved to tears, and I was laughing, and I was like just going on this whole journey. He was an amazing keynote speaker. In fact, I have his book right here. I'll give him a little plug. He's an amazing guy. This guy here, Michael Crossland. It was actually at the BX conference recently. This guy spoke there. And he's had all sorts of health issues and, so many near-death experiences that he's gone through. And he just really shared his whole journey. And he just did it in such a masterful way that he really moved us. Now, obviously, he's done a lot of keynote presentations. He's very, very experienced and very well-versed at that. However, for those who think, Elizabeth, that they're maybe not a good presenter or not a good singer, can anyone do this?
Absolutely. That's the first thing. The number one thing is anyone can do it, I believe. Because there's people who are introverted. I was introverted. If you look at pictures of me as a child, I look very sad and introverted, and I was very shy. And when you have to do something, you just it's about stepping outside of your comfort zone, and it's about practice. So most people don't get a chance to practice. When do you have a chance to practice being on stage? Right? So you have to kind of create that container for yourself. So you have an opportunity to practice and improve and have be very clear. I know this is what you work on, is about packaging up your genius, is like knowing what is it that you want to say, what is it that you want to, what is the message that you want to give, you know. And when you come from this place of passion and from the heart, then it becomes a lot easier. Now, of course, there's, you know, technical things and scripting, and that's part of the scripting, right? And you know, kind of, you know, the structure of how to do it correctly, etc. But, you know, mostly, I mean, you know, when I was singing, mostly people want to see you and they want to feel your energy. They don't want to see that you're in your head and you're thinking about trying to do it perfectly. They just want to feel you, right? And whatever that is. So it's about being transparent. And, you know, this is what we love about people that we see on stage that we admire, is you can see that their entire energy is here. It's not like hiding inside, encased in sort of like, you know, a container of wanting to do something correctly. You can see when someone is thinking too much about what it is they want to do or say. They're calculated. When you feel like someone's authentic, then you just on the journey with them, right? So it's not about you have to be extroverted. You don't have to be a Tony Robbins. I mean, he's so amazing and dynamic, right? But there's all different types, and it's just about being you authentically, how you are, right? And anyone, even if you're introverted, you have moments of being excited about something. You know, it's not like, okay, you're introverted and then that means that you're not ever excited, and right? So it's about just being your authentic self and having that authentic voice, both the inner voice and the physical voice. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And I've met many introverts actually who are actually fantastic speakers, you know, and it's something that they have trained and developed over time. However, you know, it's blown me away when I've heard some amazing speakers that actually say that they're introverts. And, you know, when you think of emotions, you know, they say the saying that stories tell and emotions sell. Stories tell, emotions sell. And I was blown away when this guy Michael spoke. Everyone wanted a copy of his book, and it's a $40 book. It's you know, most books are sort of $20-$30, but people were lining up to get this guy's book because they were so moved by his story, you know. And most of them probably won't even read it, but it's like, we want to take a piece of you. We want to take a piece of you home, you know, when we hear a great presentation, or, you know, when we go to a concert like tonight, Paul McCartney's on the Gold Coast, right? So there's half the Gold Coast are going to be going to see Paul McCartney, you know, from the Beatles fame, of course. And, you know, no doubt that there will be people wanting to take a piece of him home. They want to take some souvenirs and some memorabilia with them. And you know, that's the beauty of, we want to have something to remember people by when we see a great presentation. And this is where packaging up your genius and having something that you can offer people as well is really important as part of this journey. Ken, have you done many presentations?
So what do you mean by presentations?
Like presentations? You've done webinars and things, right? That's a form of presentation.
Yes. So absolutely. So I've done a few very short PowerPoints. I've done master classes, webinars. I have an entire online course that I offer for people. And there's actually a master class running on my website right now. I've got my own private podcast. So, there's actually a lot of different areas that I would present in, for sure.
Yeah. And was it something that you weren't very confident at the beginning and you've developed confidence over time?
Oh my Lord, that was quite a journey. So I never saw myself as being on camera. It was quite a journey in the beginning, but the thing that I share, and here's the other thing I'll share about that. So in the very beginning of my venture, I call him my founding member, and we've had him on the show twice now. His name is Mike Montez, and great guy. But he was one of the founding members that got my website up and running, that got the idea of my brand going and everything else. I remember he told me one day, he's like, look, here's what you need to do. Set a date. Announce the date. Go live and announce the date. Put it out there. Set a date. So, and what I want you to do is, I want you to develop this, this, and this by that date. And I want you to have your online course all ready to go. I also want you to have your, at the time we called it webinar, ready to go. Now I call it masterclass. But so, you know, I thought I was being wise. I set it like 2.5 weeks out. I thought that was more than enough time. Boy, did I light a fire underneath my ass. Let me tell
Yeah.
you. And here's the part of the story that I really want, to tell. So I did all the recordings and everything else that I needed to do, and all that was left was the edits. I got into the editing part of it, and I swear I drove myself nuts between the ums, the ahs, the knows, the okays, all of that stuff, the little fillers that you constantly put in. Usually when you're a little nervous or you're trying to figure out what to say, that's when that kind of stuff starts showing up a little bit. There's other times where it's just natural. You naturally say But let me tell you, my first videos, oh my gosh, they had so many ums in them. It was driving me crazy. And I even remember sitting back in my chair just going, this is ridiculous. Do I really sound like this? What the But you know what? Through that journey, I learned a lot. And actually, my mentor kind of putting me out there like he did was the best thing he could have done for me. Because after that 2.5 weeks, I had a website, I had a master class, I had an online course built, I had everything going for me. It was a foundation. Now I look back on all that stuff today and I'm like going, oh my gosh, that stuff is so outdated because I've learned so much during my journey. There's and so I'm actually in the process of remaking my master class, and then soon I'll be doing some remakes of my online course because there's so much more I can put in there. But now it's like I show up in front of the camera, and through that journey and through repetition of doing it over and over and over again, and also through the passion that I have around what I do, exposing the lies of the health and wellness industry, exposing the lies of that industry out there that have trapped people for so many years. That is my passion. And when you get me rolling in that, oh shoot, I will talk on camera for 2 hours and you're just like going, is he done yet? Yeah. But I mean, and here, this is a perfect example. If 3 years ago, if you were to tell me that I would be co-hosting a show with a wonderful co-host, and we have great synergy together, we're very like-minded. If you were to tell me all that, I'd probably think you were crazy. And the thought would probably terrify me because I'd be so nervous. But making that journey and doing that has made me into the person that I am today. I am not afraid of the camera now. Now I'll come on camera and I love to blast that industry. I love to share lies around like cholesterol, the lies around the American Heart Association, the lies around, and just to throw out a few topics there. You get me going on that, and like I said, I'll talk all day. But anyhow, back to you guys.
Yeah, I love that, Ken. And that's the thing, when you're passionate about what you're talking about, you will just keep chatting about that thing and you will have that excitement about what you're talking about as well. And I must say, I have done a lot of different speaker coaching over time. I did 3 years of Toastmasters. In Toastmasters, they actually count your ums and ahs, and I still say ums and ahs. You know what I mean? So I think the thing is don't worry about it being perfect, right? Don't let perfection get in the way of progress. Elizabeth, what are your tips to help people build their confidence with their presentations?
Well, one thing is to recall a time that you felt really amazing accomplishing something and anchoring that feeling in your body. Everyone has some sort of experience that they've had where they felt like they were amazing. They rocked it. They succeeded at something. It doesn't matter what it is, whether you won a swim competition or the spelling bee, or you achieved something that you were going after. And there's a way that you can just anchor that feeling in your body. Now, the second thing is just by practicing, like you said, you only get confident. So drawing on my experience as a performer and being on stage, I felt the most confident when I was well prepared, because I knew that you just go on stage and you just have to let go at that point, and it's going to go with the flow. You're going to be in the flow. You cannot think about, okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to sing in this case? It has to already be in your subconscious mind pretty much, which means that you have to have practiced that. And it's not about practicing to be perfect. It's about having it be on automatic pilot so that you can just be, in the moment. And then when you're in the flow, you just draw upon the information that's already there. So you're not thinking so much with, the front of your mind about, okay, I have to say this, this, or this. So you're not glued to the page. For me, being well prepared helps me be confident because I know, okay, you know this. If something happens and something goes haywire and you forget something, you can always just jump back in. So knowing that, you can jump back in, that's a thing, because trying to protect yourself from failing or protect yourself from making a mistake, that makes you more nervous.
Agreed. Agreed. Now, interesting though, I actually, so you mentioned that it sounds like you make an effort not to be glued to your notes. Now, sometimes when I'm doing a podcast episode on my private show, I've got my whole outline in front of me because a lot of times, to produce an hour episode and go over all the points I want. A lot of times, if I don't have my outline in front of me, I'm lost. Like I'm just like blah 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 blah. If it's something that I've talked about a lot over and over again, then yeah, sure, I can go off the top of my head, off the cuff. But so, I mean, and I do see a lot of really good professionals. You can tell they're reading from their notes, and a lot of them own it. A lot of them will just say, hey, and I'm reading from my notes here, so don't mind me. So, I mean, that's kind of my approach on the way I approach it nowadays is like, if I'm reading from my notes, I'm going to tell you I'm reading from my notes. My note-taking strategy or my style for note-taking on how I produce my outlines is bullet pointed, but here's the catch. My entire outline is literally done in a way to where it's a conversation. So it's pretty much the way I want to word things and say things. It's not just simple bullet point titles and then here's the subtitle and everything. No, it's like all the content is in there. That's just the way my brain's wired, and that's just the way I take outline notes. But anyhow, what are your thoughts on the people that do read from their notes?
Well, I think there's a balance, as long as you're not completely glued. I have a few notes, right? So that you make sure, because I don't know if it's ADHD, but like sometimes, with my focus, I have to make sure that I don't go off on a tangent, right? If there's like stories that I want to tell and anecdotes and whatever. But, the idea is to not be so glued that you're not able to then connect with your audience. So I think that's the balance in the practice, is to have like a structure and have talking points that this is the direction you want to go in. And then also be able to free form and free flow and give yourself permission to make a non sequitur if you'd like, take a detour and take a story. You have a talking point, actually just think of something. It's also important to have that spontaneity, to be able to be spontaneous. And I think that the notes there as a structure allows you that freedom because oh, okay, I can get back to what it is I was talking about. And I also say sometimes when I'm doing a webinar, okay, I've got my notes. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything. It's really important what we're going to talk about today. I think that's okay. Again, it's about being authentic and transparent, right? So, and whatever helps you to, accomplish your job and be able to give the information that's super important for people. And, at the same time, just being, authentic and still being able to have that energy and presence, right? So you're not distracted by your notes. So your notes don't become a crutch, right? It's an aid to help you, but it's not something that you have to stare at because then you're just disconnected, right?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And welcome to the ADHD club. We've talked about this before because Ken and I both have hints of ADHD, right? And I mean, it is a label, of course. A lot of entrepreneurs have this, ADHD or sort of, we have an overactive brain, I would say. And I mean, I don't think that's a bad thing because I think that's showing that you have this lust for life. There's a lust for life with entrepreneurs who love what they do. And it's not that they have trouble focusing, just have trouble focusing on things that don't interest them, right? So it's just managing that, and there can be anxiety and depression that can happen, they say, for people with ADHD. And I was just diagnosed actually last year, apparently diagnosed, according to someone said that I had the signs of ADHD. And because I've had depression over the years, right? I've had depression, I've had high anxiety, and apparently they are very common with people who have ADHD, apparently. However, really, I think every single human being has certain traits, you could say, at different times that may come out. And I look at it as a superpower. This is your superpower. And so it's channeling that. So I think back to the notes, I think that can really help to stay focused, because I know that I definitely go off on tangents. Ken and I have got on many tangents in this show, I must say. Yeah. And bring it back to our topic, the truth about how to master presentations. I know you have a great formula for this, Elizabeth, which probably you have in your notes there. So can we come to those notes and share a little bit about that, please?
Okay, so the first thing was about the mindset and being confident, right? And I like the work that you do, for example, because my work is about the inner work, about the mindset, about confidence, about connecting with your true voice physically. So working with the voice itself, if you just practice singing, and you don't have to know how to sing, like be an opera singer or something like that, but just you doing voice activations. So first thing is warming up the voice before you speak. Super important. So you notice if you're a salesperson, for example, and you're getting on phone calls, and the first calls in the morning, your voice is not awake.
No.
Right? So the best thing would be to wake your voice up before you get into doing phone calls, before you do your video reels, before you have to present and talk, because the way you speak when you're doing a presentation is different than just, when you're casually speaking on the phone and, just hanging out, right? And you want to have a sense of projection. So that all adds to the confidence. When you know that you practice, it's like, when you're lifting weights in the gym, you know that if you were to get into an accident and you have to pull someone out of the river, you have the strength to do this because you've been doing the work in the gym beforehand, right? So it's like in the background, your body can react in the moment in a different way because your body's used to training. The muscles are ready, the nervous system is ready. So I think it's just really important to train the voice, even if you're not a singer. Just train your voice, warm up the voice, do articulation, which helps with articulation and pronouncing words and speaking clearly, right? Singing itself also trains the breath. So working with the breath, I'm a breath work practitioner, and it's not just the breath that you have for singing that's important, which helps you to pace yourself. It helps you to have a dynamic presentation and better elocution. So when you speak and you can be specific with certain words, you can, it's just different when you know how to use the breath properly. You can sustain your presentation for a longer period of time. You have more energy in the body. So this using the voice and singing has so many different facets to it. It's the physical benefits of it, the benefit of it, just connecting with your own self. So when you're singing, you are bearing yourself to yourself. You are revealing yourself to yourself, if that makes any sense, right? You cannot be a fake person with yourself when you're singing. You're just in a vulnerable state. And the more you can do that and the better you get at that, the more you're comfortable then, if you do that in front of other people, then the more comfortable you are with just bearing your soul, so to say, right?
And then, of course, around that, if you want to get a real critique on how you're really sounding, record yourself and then listen to that. I'm going to tell you, oh my gosh, there are so many times. I mean, because I kind of it's a side hobby, so I play guitar and I record my own music and stuff like that on the side. I've written some songs, and I have like a little makeshift studio here, a little mini mixer, and I do stuff on GarageBand. It's kind of fun. But I swear, I know I'm a good singer. I know I sing on key, but there are those times where I'm trying to get a harmony and I think it sounds good in my ears, and then I go back and listen to the recording. I'm like, shit. You know,
Yeah,
so record yourself, because that's the true, teller. That's gonna reveal your blemishes, if you will. But anyhow, continue, Elizabeth.
absolutely. No, absolutely. That's one of the things, is that that's part of the practicing, it's it's some people are maybe just totally natural at this, but most of us are not natural at it, and you just have to practice. And one of those things is practicing in front of the mirror. You got to look at yourself and see what you look like when this is, for example, when you're presenting videos and presenting on stage. If you're doing podcasting, it's still good, because then that comes through in your voice when you're speaking. If you know how to use your body, right? You're in your body when you're speaking. But especially important when you're doing videos. So record yourself, look at your videos, do it in front of the mirror so you see what it is you're doing. Get used to expressing yourself with your body language that feels authentic to you, that also it shares and it can enhance what it is that you're saying, depending on what movements you do. And it can be something very small. It has to be authentic to you. This is something we do with, when you're practicing a song, an aria, you learn a new aria from a production or something. And you just want to dive in and just sing it because it feels so amazing and the music is so beautiful. But it's important also to then really figure out, okay, where do I want to emphasize my words, for example? And, what do I feel in this moment? What is the character feeling in this moment? What is the environment like? What kind of environment then? So to translate from that to being on video, what kind of environment do you want to create? Right. And I know I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you. So it's a bunch of different things all mixed together, right? You have to practice, you have to watch yourself, be vulnerable enough to critique yourself and look at yourself. Some people don't even like the sound of their own voice, right? You record yourself and you listen back and you think, oh my God, do I sound like that? Right. And then, okay, you can listen to yourself and think about, okay, what is it that I don't like? Why is it that I think that, I don't like my voice? And then you can work on those things, and work on your tone. Singing is amazing for that because it is a muscle. There's teeny tiny muscles in there. Your body's an instrument. You work on that instrument and you sing and you practice, then you're increasing your resonance. You're increasing the sounds and volume of your voice. You can project better. You have more stamina. You're able to use your voice in a different way and kind of direct it, then you're kind of a master at directing your voice and projecting your emotion in your voice. We can always hear that in someone's voice, right? You can tell the way a person feels. So imagine that you can do that on command, right?
Yeah, I love that. And I'm very curious how you warm up your voice, because I must say my voice always sort of cracks in the morning. And that's where sometimes if I just, if the phone rings first thing in the morning and it sort of wakes me up and you get on the phone and you have this crackly kind of voice. Oh, did I just wake you up? Yes, you did. Or, you can always tell. You can always tell. So what are some ways to warm up the voice in the morning?
The way to warm up the voice in the morning is just by doing light humming. Just it's like saying like something's really yummy. But this warms up the edges of the vocal cords. It's really, really light. You're not getting into any kind of vocal gymnastics or anything like that. So you first just want to, just do like a light hum. And you just put your lips together. It's just super, super light. You don't have to do much, but it just kind of gets the cords warmed up a little bit. And then there's other vocal exercises that you can do that warm up the lips and the tongue, moving the tongue around. The tongue is a muscle. This muscle is so strong. And if you get it warmed up, you'll be more articulate and more flexible. When you do, it's really funny when I do articulation exercises with some people, being able to isolate the tongue to do certain exercises. For me, it seems just like normal, but it's because I've been doing it forever. And then I realized, wow, okay, this is really useful because most people don't know how to do this, right? So if you have some of those exercises in your arsenal, then you can also warm up the tongue and the lips and the cheeks and just feeling warmed up, like all the blood is flowing and yeah, warm. So some of that would be, you can also hum while you're doing that. There's another exercise. It's the.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yes, we did that with theatre when I was acting on stage with theatre years ago. We used to do that one to prepare because you had to really project your voice to the back of the room.
Exactly. Red leather, yellow leather. Just doing like tongue exercises like that. Yes. There's a lot. There's a whole list of different exercises that you can do. Yeah. But it's really important. Yeah. Just
awesome.
It's so easy.
It's interesting that can you play the guitar? Because I play ukulele really badly, and I know it's a work in progress. Sometimes I sing really badly, and sometimes I sing really well. And it's interesting. I have my moments, I think, with that. So would you say that too, Elizabeth? Do you have your moments where you feel like you're singing really well and performing really well, and you don't?
I set myself up to win. I never sing anything in public. I cannot do karaoke unless I know it's the exact right key and the microphone's the right microphone. And I hate karaoke for that because it's never right. It's always the worst microphone ever, and it's never the right key. And I'm not a pop singer, so trying to sing pop is like, I have to be drunk for this. Seriously, it's just no.
That's where it can get really painful sometimes at karaoke bars. You think, oh my gosh, good on them for having a go, but I just have to leave the room right now.
Yeah, but then there's like karaoke professionals.
There's a place we used to go up into Temecula, which is 40 minutes north from here. And it was you guys have probably maybe heard of it. It's called Buffalo Wild Wings. And this one was it's a wing shop basically. You can get chicken wings, sauce.
That sounds good.
Oh yeah, it's good stuff. Very good stuff. Well, this particular one, it's Buffalo Wild Wings. It's typically a corporate owned place to eat, but this particular one up in Temecula was a franchise, and it was privately owned. And they had karaoke nights there on every Friday night. And I actually knew for a while the vendor that would come and show up. She was awesome, amazing. She was a lot of fun. And I remember my experiences with karaoke. I typically would not sing a song unless I knew every word of the song and I was very familiar with how the melody went and everything else. There was a couple songs that I actually would ask the vendor. I would ask her to sing the melody, and then I would come in the back and sing the harmonies to it. That was fun. One song, though, I remember I really, really screwed up. I thought I could handle it, and it was too high for me. And I love high harmonies. I can hit pretty high notes. I'm tenor, and I think at times I can be a little bit above tenor as well. But it's a song by Journey, and I forget what it Streetlight People. That's not the title of it, but it's a classic song. And with a lot of Journey songs, the guy sings really, really high. Well, toward 3/4 of the way through that song, I lost it. And I was looking at her. I was like, please save me. And she's like, no, keep going. Because she knows, like, I never sing a song unless I know it. And she was like, keep going, keep going. Oh my gosh.
Was it Don't Stop Believing? Don't Stop Believing?
That's it. Thank you. That's the song. That's the song that, I crashed big time on it. I've totally lost my voice and started cracking towards the end. I mean, I handled 3/4 of it pretty well, but I felt the fatigue, and I'm like, I'm crashing and burning. But I remember sitting there at times in that Buffalo. They're also like a bar too, so I remember sitting there at times and listening to other people up there, and there were definitely times where I was just like, okay, get off the stage, please. Just stop. Like you can't even eat because it's so bad.
Yeah.
Would you say that your experience happened because you didn't know the song well enough, or what was it that it was just not in your right range? Because I was going to say that with when Aldwyn mentioned about sometimes hitting it and sometimes not. That's important to know what your right vocal range is, right?
I mean, I hit it. I hit the high notes quite a few times, and then towards the end of the song, I just my vocals just got worn out. I mean, I felt the fatigue. I knew the song. You've got the words right in front of you because they've got like a cue thingy on television. So the words weren't a problem. I knew the melody. I knew everything. My vocals just wore out, probably because I was straining too above what was my comfortable high level.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important to know what your vocal range is. I can tell you're a tenor. And, you know, I have the kind of voice where it has a very large vocal range. I sang also mezzo and I sang really low. I started singing in high school. I sang tenor stuff because I had that lower range. So I could go pretty low for a girl, you know. But knowing where your sweet spot is in your voice is really important if you want to do vocals. So practicing stuff that's on the edge of your range is really important. So you build up stamina for it so you don't lose it. If you're only singing your comfort zone and then you do something that's outside of it and then you go ham on that, then yeah, your muscles aren't ready for that.
I burned that night. I so crashed and burned. I walked away. I bet you my face was like bright red. I crashed. But typically when I'm doing my own home recordings and I go to record the harmonies, I'll be honest with you, the harmonies are actually my favorite part. I love finding the higher keys. I love and matching with my own voice and all of that. It's just, I don't know what it is about singing in harmony, but I love it. And typically if I try to go for the lower harmonies, it never works. I always have to go high. I always have to catch the high ones. Yep.
Yeah. That's what feels natural to you. So that's cool.
And I'm definitely a tenor as well. I love the blues songs. In fact, one of my favorite songs that I love playing on the ukulele is St. James Infirmary. I love that song. It's a really old 1930s sort of blues number. And I love those sort of really deep songs. So for me, I also have a lot of trouble going to the high notes. So it's interesting you say vocal range, your vocal range, Elizabeth. So can you change your vocal range? Can you really sort of master these other vocal ranges that aren't as natural for you?
Well, I would say, okay, so everyone has, your voice is like a thumbprint, right? Everyone has the voice that they have. So what you want to do is just maximize the voice that you have. So if you are a mezzo soprano, you're not going to be able to turn yourself into a high lyric coloratura. That's just not possible. There's a certain notes that are outside of your range. Now, for women's voices, your range, the range is similar, but it's what makes a determination as to your voice type is where are you the most flexible and strong in the voice within that range. So it could be that we have the same notes available to us, but the way you sound singing this note here, that's a high note, and the way I sound singing it's going to sound different. It's going to have a different resonance, a different timbre based on what your voice type is, right? And this voice type is something that you learn over time by training the voice. You figure out because we have in the voice, we have the chest voice, the mid-range, and the head voice. And there's what's called a passaggio. It's a passageway that goes in between all those three different areas. Now, where that passageway is different for every voice type. And that's something that's natural that you can't change. So in order to determine and figure out where that passageway is, we just have to train the voice. And training the voice means doing articulation, just working on the muscles and getting the free flowing of the sound from the lowest part of the range to the highest part of the range. And when you know that your voice sounds very similar and there's like what is it called? Yeah, it just sounds very even between all the different ranges, then you know that you have trained your voice well. So that's the idea, is that when you are singing, for example, opera, that the way you sound when you sing the high notes, you can still hear the quality of the sound. It's a higher note, but you can still tell that it's similar in timbre throughout the range. So it's not something, you can't make yourself be, sing really fast notes really high if that's not your voice type, right? Everyone has to find what their voice type is. And this is important for speaking as well, right? Like I was working with someone, a coach, a life coach, and she's losing her voice all the time and couldn't figure out why. It's also understanding the resonance chambers. Your body's an instrument, understanding where your voice resonates and how to use that to your advantage and to know what that feels like. She was speaking with the resonance that was in here, in the chest, back in the throat, and she was losing her voice. I was like, you're speaking in the wrong position. You're not using the upper resonance chambers, which are these up here. Now, we know people who speak up here and they sound like this, like, oh my God, right? And then the voice is like totally like up here, like the whole time. And it's
That's
only
like the nanny from New York.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, oh, what is that sound? So ideally, I mean, come on, that was her brand, right? And she did great. So like, kudos to her. So it's not about like, okay, so you just have to figure out what that is for you. But for me, I find to have a mixture of the 3 different resonance areas, like right now, because I've sung a lot, you can maybe hear, I have the resonance here, it's in the mouth, but it's also like in the chest. So it has a full sound of resonance, a full range of resonance. It's not just, I'm not back in the throat, it's not stuck back here. And people do talk like that. I sometimes, I don't know, I sit in a restaurant, I listen to someone speaking and I'm like, oh, you need some help. I can tell they're just speaking in like with the wrong resonance. And that just takes practice and understanding how to place that and how it feels in your body, right? And figuring out the right balance for you. When you have this resonance, a balance of those different resonance areas, then you have more strength and power. You actually feel more confident. That adds to your level of confidence because you know that you're able to project outward with the least amount of effort. The thing with singing is the least amount of effort for the maximum impact and the maximum amount of projection and power is what you want always. So using that idea with speaking as well, if you're speaking in the right range for your voice and your body type, then you have more power available to you to then move your audience, right? It's just one more thing that you can add that adds the magic sauce.
So afraid to ask what, besides me being a tenor, which is spot on. I also tend to like to maybe go above that range from time and experiment with that. What would you say about my voice? Afraid to ask.
Don't be afraid. I think that you have a great speaking voice. You speak very clearly and you project outwards, and you've been practicing doing this. It's all about, people are like, well, how do I? You just have to do it. You just have to do it. And you've recorded yourself, I'm sure, because you've talked about that already. You've seen yourself, you've noticed what you've done, and you notice the way you sound. And you already have a nice, I could tell, you're a tenor and you have this upper resonance, which is easier for you. But it's great when you hear a guy who's like a nice, deep, this voice, but also can project out, right? It's like, that's super awesome. So that's what it's about. And when you practice and you get used to hearing, that's one of the things too. It's like, you have to get used to hearing and seeing yourself, hearing your own voice. When you're speaking like this and you're not, normally we are in conversation with people, right? We speak a little bit, but then we're listening, right? And it's going back and forth. But when you get to like where you're presenting, all of a sudden you become self-conscious because it's just you talking, right? Did that happen with you at first? You're like,
it did.
I'm consciously listening to myself talk.
As a matter of fact, whenever I would hear myself on recording prior to that, I hated my voice. I was just like, oh, do I sound like that? What the heck? I sound like some kind of retarded kid or something, I don't know. But now over the years of doing it so much, now it's just like, I'll record a podcast episode And if I really loved the topic that I spoke about, which pretty much I love all the topics that I speak about, but if that episode just really just I felt the power and I just felt the energy and the flow of it at the gym, I'm listening to myself on that episode going, yeah, that was good. That was a good point too. And that now it's just like it's just something I do. I mean, I put out reels all the time. I do. So I mean, I hear myself all the time like that. So it's natural. But in the beginning, oh hell no. I hated the way I sounded.
Did you change anything, or did you just get used to the way you sound and just went more into it and just accepted yourself and became more relaxed then, which then increases your resonance and the way you will sound then, because you're speaking with your authentic voice? What was it?
I can't say that I changed anything about it.
Yeah.
I just I think the few changes that I did do weren't to my voice. It was more towards the headspace of being aware of the ums and the uhs, being a lot more aware of things like that, and not being afraid of like the dead space, not having that need to
Yes.
um and fill in that dead space. I mean, at the end of the day, if I want to get rid of that dead space when I put the actual recording out there, I can edit that out. And a lot of times I do, because sometimes there are those awkward pauses and I'm just like, okay, that was too long. I got to edit that out. But even now, as I just said, I'm recognizing it, but I know this is just a natural flow in conversation. So
Yeah.
it just took me really getting used to it. I didn't work on changing my voice or anything else. It's just getting used to hearing myself, getting used to seeing myself on camera. And then once you get over that hump, it doesn't take too long. If you do it enough and you're repetitive with it enough, once you get over that hump, you find your flows. And that's really what's key, is finding the flow. I sometimes still do recordings nowadays, an episode or a video or whatever. I'll do it, and then I'll go back and listen to the video, and I will identify right then and there whether I want to keep the video or not, or redo it. When I decide to redo it, it's not because I sounded bad. It's because I can tell the flow and the energy wasn't in the right place.
Yeah.
I know where I should be, and I know what that feels like and sounds like. So there's oftentimes I'll get in like 5 minutes into the edits, and I'll be just like, not feeling it. Trash this. I'm gonna make a new one. I can do better.
Yeah.
So there's those moments too.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point you made. One point also that you made about the pauses. People are so afraid of the pause. But for example, in music, this is the magic moment where I can have the audience eating out of my hand, because you just take your time and you just let the energy sit right there. And you just let the audience, come to you. It's just this really magical feeling to be able to rest, to be able to take that rest. Right. And if you're doing a presentation and it's about something extremely profound, you want to give your audience a chance to feel what they're going to feel, to imagine, to use their imagination. And then maybe you want to ask your audience questions, right? You're interacting with your audience. You want to give them a chance also to respond. So they're responding either internally, mentally, or maybe with words, because you're interacting and asking questions back and forth. But not being afraid of those pauses. When you're on stage, the time slows down. The time is really, really different when you're in performance mode. We think 1 second is like an eternity when you're on stage. It feels like, oh my God, everyone's cheering, and I feel naked. But really, it's just 1 second, right? And so to give yourself that permission to make those pauses is really, really important. And a second thing you mentioned, this is like, the magic sauce is being able to find that flow. And, I wish I could say, okay, this is what you have to do. It's just about practicing and understanding who you are and how you flow. And you only get to do that by practicing over and over, understanding, do you speak slowly? Do you speak quickly? Do you tell the story and then take a pause? How do you tell your story? How do you do it? It's different for everybody. right? Like I'm used to singing and picking out specific words. So I noticed that when I listen to myself also, and when I speak, there's a lot of up and down, and I have a lilt, and I know that I have this up and down in my voice, and I speak and I pick specific words, to highlight something that I want to say. And it comes naturally, but that's because of the singing experience, of having and knowing that I need to be specific about words that I want to choose to highlight, to bring forth, because I want to make a point and I want someone to hear. It's, that communication thing. But I think the magic is just doing it, just doing it and doing it and doing it.
That's why I say the best thing that my mentor could have done is shove me out there and say,
yeah,
make a date, announce it, get your stuff done.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to touch on the pause thing, because a lot of public speaking I've done, they talk about the power of the pause, right? And even just that pause in radio land, in media, traditional media, my background, a pause on radio is dead air, and people will change channels. So it's a big no-no when you're doing radio shows. So for me, it's been something I've had to really learn, and it's quite an art form, a very different art form when you're doing a radio show or a pure audio podcast. I guess with podcasts, people are tuning in, but with radio, well, they're tuning into that station. They might think you've dropped off air, or so it's been a real art form that I have learned to develop and learn to play with, I guess, play with when I'm doing a presentation on stage versus, and a presentation here where people can actually see you, is different to being on air and doing a radio show. And so whenever I was hosting a radio show, it was very much, you got to keep that conversation going. And it's like, you got to remember to breathe as well. And this is a big point when it comes to powerful presentations, is breathing correctly, right? Can you talk a bit about that? You mentioned you're a breathwork facilitator. I know some singing coaching I've had in the past, they talk very much about breathing from the diaphragm. Can you share about that, and how people can do that? Because often we forget about the diaphragm and we breathe from the chest often.
Yes. So the natural way of breathing is through the diaphragm. If you look at a baby crying and you listen to that shrieking sound that just pierces through the air, and you look at the stomach, if the stomach is moving, that's the diaphragm. It's all, can you imagine? I mean, a tiny baby makes such an amazingly loud sound. It's all through the diaphragm work, right? So when we sleep, that's how we breathe naturally, is with the diaphragm. What happened is we just unlearned the correct way. So we have to now learn the correct way. And the way to do that is just by learning singing techniques. So breathing into the belly. Now, if you do yoga and some forms of breath work already, you'll have a better connection to the correct breath because you're already breathing into your belly. So when you breathe in, you want to breathe not with a thoracic breath, but the diaphragmatic. So you just breathe in and you release the belly. And that's something you have to unlearn, because when we're conscious, we do it the other way. You say breathe in and people go, right? Which is the incorrect way of breathing. And when you breathe in, what you want to do is you want to let the diaphragm relax down, let the belly go out to make room for your organs and your diaphragm. And then the air just comes into your lungs. It's just a vacuum. It just automatically comes in. You have air in your body all the time, or you would be dead. So you don't have to take in air. You already have air. You could push air out right now. Air is always in your body. So if you just work with a diaphragm and imagine that your body is like a balloon, and when you want to sing, what you're doing is that your whole upper body is like this balloon, and the top of your voice here is like the top of that balloon. You want to let as little air out as possible. And that's what you do when you're speaking correctly, is that if there's a little tiny bit of air coming out at a time when you're speaking, and you can have as much air as possible. And I just have enough air. I don't have to breathe in between every single word, right? Like we do it naturally. But if you practice singing, then what you're doing is then you're working with the intercostal muscles and all the muscles of the breathing apparatus in a way to condition them and make them stronger and more flexible. So you're able to have longer, more sustained speaking teaching, training, talking on the phone, and you've trained your body to do it correctly so that you can do it in a sustained way for longer periods of time. And if you train your body that way, what happens is that even if you have a short speech, you're going to be more deeper. You're going to be speaking from a place that's deeper in your body, because you will have more relaxation and your diaphragm will be lower, because you're practicing that on, I don't know, hopefully a daily basis if you're a good student.
Yes.
But it's just like a workout. It's just like working out at the gym. You just have to work those muscles and train your body to do it differently. And after a while, it will become automatic when you're speaking as well. And you will be able to transfer your technique from the singing into the speaking. But that takes a little bit of time. Sometimes in the beginning, you might have to think about that, like breathe into the belly and feel your intercostal muscles and everything engage, so that you have more sustained and more resonance with your voice. But after training it for a long time, it just becomes automatic then.
I love that. Some absolute gold shared so far. Can you believe it's been an hour we've been chatting already?
I can't believe that. I'm like, what?
It is absolutely flown. Have you got some other tips there on how to master presentations? And we'll start to wind it up, because I know it's in the wee hours of the morning for you.
Yes. And I don't even have toothpicks for my eyes. Okay, hold on. Let's see. We talked about warming up. Warming up is very important. Having the right mindset. So getting yourself into that winning mindset before you go on stage or go on camera, right? It's like a countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And once you're on camera, it's like you're just in the moment. Then you do all of your preparation before. You can be a perfectionist before. You can and practice. You know, I'm working with a student right now, and I was like, so how many times did you practice this video before you sent it to me? 3 times. How about doing it 10 times? Right? Like, just really that practice in the back as part of your background work is really, really important, right? So you got the practice time, you scripted, you figured out exactly what you want to say, you've chosen the words that you want to emphasize for your presentation to bring across a certain message, you want certain energy. You think about the kind of environment you'd like to create. What atmosphere do you want to create? Do you want to take them on an emotional journey? Do you want to create an atmosphere of magic? Do you want to create an atmosphere of power and energy? Do you want humor? You kind of figure out what your tone you want your tone to be. And then when it's go time, you just have to be in go mode and doing this anchoring. Like I really love NLP and just working with the brain and the nervous system, and it's just so powerful, right? So recalling and training into your body that moment where you did accomplish something great, and it doesn't matter what that is for you. Me jumping out of an airplane was amazing. Like I felt like I was flying and floating, and for me that's something I recall. If I can do that, I can stand in front of an audience, no problem.
You went
Right?
skydiving?
So, I went skydiving. It was amazing. I did that right before I went to opera camp the first time, because I was like scared out of my gourd. And then I met someone, his name was Angel, of all things. I'm like, if that's not a sign from the universe, I don't know what is. And I just jumped out of the airplane, and I was like, I did not have fear of heights anymore. And being on stage was then no big deal, because I was like, if I can do this, then being on stage is no big deal, right? So create some sort of experience for yourself. If you don't have one, if you do have one, anchor that in your body. And that is your positive anchor, knowing I can do this. Imagine and visualize yourself speaking to your audience, having the kind of response that you want, knowing that you are doing your purpose, you're giving your message. And then it's just go mode. It's just get into action and just do it. There's no other way to do it, just to do it.
Love it. Where did you go skydiving?
This was in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I don't remember the specific location, but it was in the Bay Area when I was living in San Francisco. Yeah.
I did San Diego skydive.
Yeah. You did it too. Oh,
I did. I went tandem. My very first time. I actually want to go again. It's part of one of my goals. But just like you said, it's nothing like you expect it to be. You expect to jump out of the plane and get all the butterflies in your tummy and everything. That does not happen. The only reality you've got that you're falling is the ground is getting closer. Otherwise, the air velocity makes it to where it feels like you're being pushed up. Actually.
You're just floating. You're just floating down. You don't feel like you're falling. It's amazing. And I was concerned about the breathing. Like, would I be able to breathe? Because, you know, if you stick your head out the moving car, you can't breathe, right? It's a whole different feeling. And I thought, if I'm falling at this velocity, how am I going to breathe? No problem. I don't know. It was great.
That I don't know either. I didn't have a problem. In fact, I didn't even think about breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did it as well. I'm also a skydiving graduate. I went out in Hawaii, actually. I did in Hawaii, in Honolulu. And I remember signing so many different forms saying, you know, you can die, you know, you can die, you know, this will kill you. I mean, if I had someone called Angel and I'm signing all this, you know, you can die, you know, you can die, you know, you can die, you know, this can kill you. You know, I probably would have been a little bit concerned if his name was Angel. However, there we go. We all survived the skydive.
That's my time.
Well, okay, so it sounds like you just got the paperwork. The place I went to, they actually made you watch a 15-minute video of their lawyer talking to you on why if you sue the place, you won't win.
Wow.
Oh my God. Welcome to California.
Intense. Yeah, California, exactly. Welcome to America.
I think the most intimidating thing throughout the whole process of getting ready to get on the plane
was the video.
The video, the paperwork, all of that stuff. You would sign paperwork if you get bit in the field by a snake, they're not responsible.
Oh my God.
Everything was covered.
Wow.
If your tandem guy chooses to commit suicide, we're not responsible.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Did that
was also in there.
Those things only happen because it might have happened. Do you think that happened? Oh my God. Okay.
I don't know. But the other interesting thing too is I remember talking to my tandem guy. I'm like, so what jump is this for you? And he's like, this will be my 3,000th. And part of, you know, the normal person would have been comforted by that. It's okay. You've got lots of experience. I think I'm safe. No, my mind was going 3,000. So what are the chances that 3,001 will be the time where something goes wrong?
Yeah, the higher probability because, you know, probability of numbers.
Right.
And he might be complacent. He might be just taking it like, you know, complacent, right? And this can happen with presentations too sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Some people think, oh yeah, I've done this a million times, I'll be fine. And then suddenly you can have all sorts of tech issues. And, you know, how are you going to deal with that when suddenly your Zoom doesn't work or suddenly your internet cuts out right when you're about to do a presentation or halfway through or, you know, like this can all happen and does happen. You know, PowerPoints don't work and, you know, pointers don't work. I mean, all sorts of things. I've seen it all happen. And it's all about how you flow with it. And same with, you know, a lot of theater and a lot of, you know, I was an entertainment reporter for years in the media and I saw so many shows and there were many times that things would happen on stage in a live show where, you know, people would lose part of their outfit that would, you know, as they're dancing along the stage. And, you know, and do they go back and they pick up the outfit or they just leave it? And then, you know, so it's interesting to see how people deal with things.
Yeah, you just got to go with the flow. You just got to move on. You know, if you're singing something and you forget the word, you can't just be like in the moment. That moment already happened. Go. You have to keep going. You have 40 people charging forward called the orchestra. You have no time to think about what you just did. Whatever mistake, it's over. The second it happened, it's done. Moving on, forward march. I was on stage once with a colleague and I forgot my lines and I just stood there. Completely stoic, like nothing was happening. We had a nice laugh about that backstage. He was like, you just totally left me. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. The lines just disappeared. But no one could tell.
Well, it's better to do that than say, oh, I'm sorry, I lost my lines. And how many people do that? They apologize. Like, oh, I'm sorry. You know,
I have a cheat sheet about that. Don't apologize too much. Because, I mean, you know, the audience is like, okay, well, the audience is quite forgiving. You know, I mean, it's just like, okay, guys, PowerPoint's completely dead. I'm going to have to wing it. Okay. And then you just go.
Yeah.
I mean, pretending it didn't happen. If you're speaking, that's different than if you're, singing or you
Yeah.
got lines or something, because then you have other people that are dependent on you, and then you're taking too much time to, but yeah, I mean, yeah, every situation is different, but that's kind of when you're a stage animal, as my voice teacher calls me, then you kind of know what to do at what time when things go awry.
And half the time, people don't even know you've screwed up
No.
unless you say you've screwed
You
up.
unless you
Yeah.
broadcast that, they don't know. Yeah. And it doesn't really matter, right? Because it's like, what is your message? Whether it's singing or it's speaking or it's a play, there's a message that's being, a story or a message being conveyed. And that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, it's not about me. When I'm presenting, when I'm singing, it's not about me. It's about what it is I'm saying, the character, about what I want to, impart. So if I don't get self-conscious about that, it's like, oh, that just happened. Okay, keep going. then
Yeah.
it's not about me anymore, right?
Yeah.
It makes it easier.
Yeah, a huge thing
Keep
where
going.
people get really nervous is they're so in their head with their 60,000 thoughts a day. It's all happening at once, it seems, for a lot of people. They get the sweaty palms, they get the, all nervous. And the more we can focus on being of service, the more we come from the
Exactly.
heart, the easier it is. And for me also in my journey presenting, has been a lot of personal development work. So you mentioned mindset is a really huge one, right? Doing the personal development work to actually build your resilience when you're on stage presenting on a physical stage. And I've emceed at Woodford Folk Festival for about 15 years in front of thousands of people, 5,000 plus people at Woodford Folk Festivals over the years at an in-person events, and then also the online events. And whatever it is the more you can have the confidence within you to know that you do have a great message to share and not compare yourself with others, because everyone's on their own journey. You have your own unique style, and really allowing that to come through however it comes through, and being okay with stuffing up too sometimes. Sometimes you are going to stuff up, or you're going to say things that you may not have wanted to say, or there's some things come out of my mouth, I think, oh my gosh, did I just say that? Right? Ken knows. Ken knows, right? Goes, oh my gosh, did she just say that? Yes. Sometimes things just come out that I think, okay, well, I've probably just offended someone there, but oh well, let's just move on, right? And that's the thing, it doesn't matter, because everyone's going to take things differently with what you say. Whatever you say, there's going to be people that are going to love what you say, there's going to be people that hate what you say. At the end of the day, it's important that you are true to yourself with what you're sharing, that you share what you want to share, right? So Elizabeth, can you talk a bit more about that, how important resilience is when you're being a presenter?
Oh, absolutely important, right? I mean, that is what allows you to deal with the hiccups and the mishaps and whatever happens, whether it's your own mishap because you've forgotten something, or you think, oh my gosh, what did I just say? Or where are my notes? Oh, and I missed a whole paragraph about something, and now I have to go, whatever it is. Having that resilience comes from practicing. And first of all, from just doing it. But practicing before you have to do it is also really a great tool, an easy way, simple way to build up that resilience, right? And then find some, wonderful people who can be your guinea pigs, and you can just practice in front of them. Practice doing your video and sending it out to people and have them give you critique. Don't be afraid to have critique and understand, really what it is. Get really honest critique about how you're appearing, right? And how you're presenting yourself. But practice, practice, practice. That's the only way to build up resilience, right? And have that resilience, as you say, the mindset and the mental resilience is the most important. That helps you navigate anything that comes your way, right?
Yeah, I love that. And in fact, all presenters that are successful that I know, they're constantly, at the end of their presentation, will always say what worked, what didn't work, right? And look at ways you can always improve things, because it's a never-ending journey, right? No matter how experienced you are, there's going to be times that you think, oh, I could have said this, or I should have said that, or whatever. There's going to be times that you think that, but then you think, well, what came out, and everything happens for you, not to you, they say. So actually, being able to flow with that roller coaster ride of life that happens with the journey of presenting and going with it, going with the flow of that. So I think there's some absolute magic and gold that has been shared on this show today. Any final tips before we start wrapping up today, Elizabeth?
Don't be afraid. Just get out there. Get out of your comfort zone. Start now. there's too much, right now is a really important time to be practicing and doing videos, doing reels. The marketplace has changed. In order for you to get your book out there, if you're an author, get your podcast going, to market your business is, a lot of it is online now. I mean, even if you have like a normal brick and mortar business, you still have to have some sort of online presence. And the more you can do that and just do it now and not wait and think, oh, someday I'll just practice, whatever, just do it now and just jump right in. Even if it's not perfect, even if, your first videos, I look at myself and I'm like, oh, it's so dark. And then the position's not right. And then this was not right. And then you just learn over time what to do and what looks good, right? So just jump right in, get out of the comfort zone, feel the fear and do it anyway. That's a famous quote that I love. That is just my motto of my life, is just do it anyway. So I love Nike.
What I'll do is I'll add into that too. So, you guys find yourself a person that can really hold you accountable, and then have that person do the same thing my mentor did for me. Set a date, put it out there, announce it, have that person make you do that and hold you accountable to that. And produce some content. Do it. Produce a masterclass. Don't worry about how you're going to sound. And as much as I'm going to say that, you'll the first few times you are going to worry about it. Just face it. But just deal with it. Go through the process. Go in expecting, knowing that you're probably not going to like what you first put out, but be okay with that. And learn from that and embrace the process of growing through that, because you do have to go through some of those painful hoops in the beginning to get to something like this, being on a show and being comfortable with being on camera, So just add to that, set that date, get that date out there, and then just move.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the accountability. Yeah, that's why coaching, everyone should have a coach. Everyone needs one. Michael Jordan had a coach. Every athlete, every expert has a coach. We all need support. We all need to have implementation and accountability. That is what moves the needle forward. That's what makes it happen. So very important. Yeah, good point.
Absolutely. And collaborating with amazing people like we are here. Which is very cool. Now, in fact, Ken and I, we haven't met in person. Elizabeth and I, we haven't met in person. And none of us have met in person. However, here we are collaborating and doing stuff together from all over the world. Ken and I met on a networking event during COVID, and here we are 46 episodes in now of Total Truth Show. And Elizabeth and I are collaborating on an amazing event called Present with Power, a free live training coming up 21st of November at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, which will be Berlin time will be 11 a.m.
Yes.
For Central European time. And for those in America, it may be early morning, I would say for you. Would be very early morning. Definitely worth waking up for. And so that's a great way to keep accountable too. And to, in business, it can be very lonely. And I think, collaborating with like-minded people, having some great people in your court, in your, the game of life that we play, having some great people there that you stay accountable to, I think is wonderful too. And choosing well with that too, because many people we can work with. So finding that alignment, which we've all done. And this is going to be the first event actually Elizabeth and I do together. And
I'm so excited about it. I feel like it's going to be so natural. I mean, I feel like, we've done it already somehow. It's amazing.
Yeah, very, very cool. And you can actually check out all our links. I will pop them into the comments here. You can check them all out on Linktree, linktr.ee/present with power. That has my Linktree link and Elizabeth's Linktree link. Where online is best for people to contact you, Elizabeth, if they want to reach out to you personally and maybe get some vocal coaching or get some presentation coaching with you directly? Where can they do that as well?
Just follow those links. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Insta, but Facebook is great. My email address is in the Linktree link. So just email me or hit me up on Facebook.
Wonderful. Fantastic. All right. So check out Elizabeth's links there. Linktree again /present with power, or look up Elizabeth King. And on Facebook, it's Elizabeth. is it Hansett King? It's a little bit different, isn't it?
It's I have my middle name in there. Yeah. If you look for True Voice Coaching, Elizabeth King, True Voice Coaching, you should find me.
Beautiful. Yeah. And what's your favorite quote or motto that you live by, or one you'd like to share?
Feel the fear and do it anyway was one. And then I found another one that I really love, and it's be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. I love that.
That's
Oscar Wilde. Yeah.
Oscar Wilde. Lovely.
Wilde. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Love that, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. What a legend you are, coming on at the wee hours of the morning and being with us. And you're so vibrant and energetic. It's amazing. Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm like, you can't even tell it's that early in the morning for her. She's got the smile. She's got the energy. She's got the spunk. She's got it all.
It just turns on when I'm on stage. It's just, I'm going to go crash in a second. I probably have to come down, but I feel so relaxed with you guys. So I'm probably going to just float right into dreamland.
Perfect.
Beautiful. See, that's how you know you're passionate about something and you know you're on the right path. See, when time flies like that, and when you're actually more energized, speaking about what you love and presenting.
Yeah,
as you have really today. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. It's absolutely wonderful. And Ken, where can people connect with you, my friend?
On my link tree, and when you go to my link tree, you're going to see three. You're going to see more than 3 links on there, but the top 3 are the most important. So first of all, there's a link to join my Facebook group where there's lots of amazing videos in there and stuff like that. Just how to lose weight sustainably, like I have done. So just a quick little blurb on that. Got to put it out there. Hey, I've lost 62.5 pounds. But I've done more than that. I have kept it off for going on 6 years now sustainably. I do not have to work at it because I have changed up here psychologically and mentally into a different person. The physical weight loss, that's you can definitely do that. But the more permanence, this is what I teach. There's lots of great stuff in that Facebook group. So connect with me there. Second thing is my calendar link, more of a personal way to connect with me. So get on a Zoom call with me. I don't bite, even if I just get the chance to get to know you better, deepen my connection with you, and then we part ways, so be it. But, at least give me a chance to point you in the right direction and show you some tweaks and changes that you can make to get some results for yourself. In the short term, at least give me that chance. So there's my calendar link. Thirdly, and lastly, is my website. You'll find a link for my website on there. And on there, you can connect with my podcast. You can go check out my masterclass, which, by the way, that masterclass up there is about ready to be taken down. I have got a new and oh my gosh, powerful one coming that I'm really, really excited. I've already done the videos for it, and I'm just going through the editing process right now for it. The editing behind the scenes literally takes time. And then so to get to my link tree, for those of you who are listening by audio, it is www.linktr.ee/Fat Fighter Ken. So that's how you can get to my link tree. So anyhow, that is me.
Wonderful. And what's the favorite quote or motto you'd like to share today?
In the midst of our conversation, I think this is really, really fitting. Treat the word impossible as nothing more than motivation. That is from Donald J. Trump.
I love that one. Thank you so much, Ken. And for those who want to connect with me, they can go to linktree/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn, or the linktree/present with power, of course, for Elizabeth and my links. Now, if you haven't subscribed to my Media Queen TV channel yet on YouTube, I recommend go and check it out. We have over 1,000 videos on there now and some amazing, inspiring content. In fact, yesterday I just interviewed John Dwyer, Mr. JD himself, who did a massively successful campaign with Seinfeld out to Australia, a multi-billion-dollar campaign with a local bank. And we talked about that yesterday, and we talked about wow marketing. It was just one of the interviews that we have on Media Queen TV on YouTube. And I'm starting a brand new challenge next week as well called Step Up, Speak Up. Step Up, Speak Up Challenge, 5-day challenge starting at 7 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. That's Brisbane time. Each day next week, Monday to Friday, November 6 till 10. We're doing that. We have, of course, the Global Good News Challenge that is on every single month. And we're now in November. So it's an 11-day challenge sharing gratitude and good news. And I challenge you to do Global Good News Challenge for November. And of course, we have Present with Power. Come and join Elizabeth and I for Present with Power November 21. Very exciting at 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time or 11 a.m. Central European Time. Lots of exciting stuff. Check out all the links there. Stay connected. Let us know, of course, what you thought of this show. What did you get out of this show? Let us know in the comments. And share the love. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here as well, share the love. And the quote that I will share with you today is by Margaret Mead, and it's a small group of thoughtful people can change the world. In fact, it's the only thing that ever has. It's been an absolute pleasure being with you today. Thank you for joining us here on Total Truth Show, episode 46, all about powerful presenting, how to master presentations. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for coming on from Berlin early in the morning, of course, from the United States originally, and Ken from San Diego. Any final words from you guys before we wrap up the live stream today?
Get out there. Make it happen. Jump in the ring.
Don't be afraid of the camera.
Yep, it's your friend.
Yay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Blessings to you. Have a beautiful day or night wherever you are in the world. We'll see you again back at Total Truth Show episodes, and like our Facebook page. Check it out, our Total Truth Show Facebook page as well. Check out all our other episodes. Lots of love. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.